So you told me earlier that you've done quite a lot of incredible bike races, or just not necessarily a race, but bike travels.
Yeah.
So tell us about it. Where have you been?
So this is like also stereotypical of like the COVID era, but I think one good thing about the COVID era was that I think it inspired a lot of people to actually look into sports and different things of sports. So when COVID hit, I was in Singapore, but after a while my visa expired. I could extend it by 1 month, but I couldn't do the visa run to Malaysia because like Malaysia was also in a lockdown, right? So then I run out of options to stay longer in Singapore. So actually then I had to go back to the Netherlands. Yeah, no, so I was back in the Netherlands, and then there was still like some kind of lockdown, and this whole period lasted for almost 2 years, right? So I started to look into different sports. So I actually started mountain biking with some friends, and mountain biking is quite nice in the Netherlands because we don't have a lot of mountains. But usually at like the close to the seaside, there's some dunes that's actually really good for like, especially if you're beginning, because it's not that dangerous. And not much can go wrong. So I started to get into mountain biking and really loving that. And for mountain biking, I started to get more into cycling as well. I was always used to cycling because I grew up in a small village. And when I had to go to school, I had to cycle 1 hour to get there and then 1 hour to get back. So every day I had to cycle for 2 hours. So cycling was always like a thing that I was very used to do, not always enjoying it. But then kind of this mountain biking opened my eyes to also like road racing and other types of biking. And I've always had this plan to do like a long distance cycling trip. So I asked my best friend whether he was up for some cycling. And actually another of my best friends was living in Portugal. So actually we wanted to go see him by bike to Portugal.
From the Netherlands?
From the Netherlands, yeah. Wow, so we felt like, okay, we had, because we just had an excuse, right, to cycle somewhere. So I was happy that friend was living in Portugal because he gave us the excuse to cycle to Portugal. Annoying thing is while we were planning the trip, then the second wave or third wave or fourth wave, whichever wave of Corona hit again. So actually France started to close down its borders. So we couldn't really go through France anymore. So then I was thinking like, okay, we can like, go through the Rhine and then we go alongside Germany. So as soon as we decided on that plan, actually Germany also started to close down its borders. So that plan also got cancelled. So then we had to be creative, and we saw that actually Portugal was still open. And then I thought like, why don't we just kind of reverse the trip? So we start in Portugal and then we cycle back to Amsterdam. So that's what we did because of the COVID. So then that went actually really well. So we loaded the bikes on the plane and we flew over there. Then we spent a weekend with my friend in Portugal, and then actually we set off and we cycled back to Amsterdam.
How long did that take you?
That took like, so it's like 3000 k, and it took us like 4 weeks. So on average you can do like 100, 120
per day.
Yeah.
And how did you do it? Did you also do like some sightseeing or something on the way, or did you really just bike, eat, sleep, that's it?
Yeah, it was kind of like the second thing. I think both of my friends, we were like too excited about this cycling thing that actually we had one day, I don't remember which city it was anymore, but we had one day off in Spain where we said, okay, we're gonna take a break. And actually that was the most boring day that we had. So we said like, okay, let's just continue from there, because I don't know, once you get into that cycling mode, you just want to keep on going because it's actually so much fun. That actually stopping down, you feel like it's slowing you down. You know, it's not necessarily the advice I would give to everyone, because I think actually it's a lot of fun to stop by. But we were just crazy enough to, and we had quite a tight time frame as well. Because my friend had to go back to work. So he only had four weeks that he could take off. So we had to be back in Amsterdam.
A challenge.
That was quite a challenge. And also the funny thing was that actually, so I mentioned that France was in a lockdown back then. But we were cycling quite fast. So when we were just about to leave Spain and we were about to enter France was still in a lockdown. So that was a bit tricky as well for us. So we decided just to ignore that and pretend like we didn't know. Because France had that crazy regulation that you could only like leave 10 kilometers away from your hometown. Like you couldn't move forward. And then you have like two guys cycling with fully packed bikes. Like how obvious do you want to make it that you're not sticking to the 10K rule? But we kind of like stayed a bit low, and we took like a detour in the Pyrenees. So we went through a really small like road through the Pyrenees. So to make sure that there were no like customs waiting for us with an unpleasant surprise, everything worked out really well. And I think after 3 or 4 days, they kind of loosened the lockdown. They canceled it, so we could cycle again without any fear. But by then we were already quite far in France anyway.
Did you do any other major distances?
Yeah, so actually I did. So before that was like, I would say, the main trip, but actually before I cycled in Vietnam as well by my own.
Okay.
That was that's a completely different experience, whether you're cycling alone or with a friend. With a friend, it's more nice, and you can do things like wild camping. If I would be entirely by my own in Vietnam, I don't know how comfortable I am with that idea. It was already quite adventurous enough just to cycle by myself and kind of like dealing with rural villages in Vietnam. Some interesting things definitely there along the way. And last year I cycled from Amsterdam to Como, Lake Como in Italy.
Nice.
And I passed by Switzerland as well.
Yeah.